Okay, good morning students. In a previous class, we were discussed regarding the what complex permanent tissues. In that complex permanent tissues, I told you earlier, xylem and phloem, these are the two components of the complex permanent tissues. We were discussed regarding the xylem, and we have discussed the different elements of the xylem, like tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers, etc. Now today we are going to start discussing about the phloem. The xylem is a water conducting tissue which is going to conduct, in the sense which is going to absorb the water from the roots and supply to the other part of the plant like stem and leaves. Phloem is a food conducting tissue, and what we are going to call it as a, which is going to transfer the food from leaves to the other part of the plant. Now when we are going to start discussing the phloem in a flowering plants, in the sense angiosperms. In angiosperms, phloem consists of four kinds of what elements? Co2 element, this is the first. Companion cell, this is the second one. Next one is phloem parenchyma, and next phloem fibers. Phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. These are the four kinds of elements we are going to found the phloem of a angiosperms. But when we are going to go for the lower plants, in the sense gymnosperms. In gymnosperms, we are going to get albuminous cells and sieve tubes. But in gymnosperm, the CO2 element and companion cells are absent in the phloem of gymnosperm. So I hope it's clear. The phloem of the gymnosperms, the CO2 elements and companion cells are absent. Okay, there we are going to find albuminous cells and sieve cells only. But when we are going to discussing regarding the phloem of the angiosperm, in the phloem of the angiosperm we are going to get four kinds of components. What are those? What are those? Usually CO2 elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Now I am going to start discussing with the CO2 elements. What are these CO2 elements? These are the long tube-like structures longitudinally associated with the companion cells. These are the long These are the long tube-like structures which are associated with the companion cells. Associated with companion cells and in CO2 elements we are not going to find nucleus. In the sense, nucleus is absent in a CO2 element. But there we are going to find the cytoplasm and large vacuoles. Cytoplasm and large vacuoles are present, but nucleus is not there in the CO2 element. So nucleus is function how it is going to perform its function. Now, what is the important thing you are going to remember here? What is that? The function of the sieve tube, it is controlled. The function of the sieve tube, it is controlled or maintained by the companion cells. In the sense, nucleus of the companion cell. Companion cell nucleus that nucleus can control the functions of the sieve tube element. And this is a very important question for your competitive and also 1 marks question, right? Because the sieve tube elements are lack of nucleus. ಅಂದ್ರೆ sieve tube element ಏನಪ್ಪ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಏನು ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯ ಐತಿ, ಆ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ ಯಾವ ಮಾಡ್ತಾವ ಅಂದಾಗ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾನಿಯನ್ ಸೆಲ್ದಾಗೆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾವ. ಆ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾನಿಯನ್ ಸೆಲ್ದಾಗಿದ್ದಂಥ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಈ ಒಂದು sieve tube element ನ ಕಾರ್ಯ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾವೆ. Understood? So I hope this is clear for you. Sieve tube elements doesn't have any nucleus and their function is controlled by the nucleus of the companion cells. Right? That's what these are associated with the companion cells. Now I would like to move further. Next point, it is the companion cells. Companion cells are the specialized parenchymatous cells. These are the specialized parenchymatous cells, and these companion cells are helps to maintain the pressure gradient in a sieve tube. How they are going to maintain? What they are going to do? They are going to maintain the pressure gradient in a sieve tube. They are going to maintain the pressure gradient in a sieve tube. Now, after this, I am going to move towards the phloem parenchyma. This is the next component of the phloem parenchyma. These phloem parenchyma are the long slender structures and these are having the cytoplasm and nucleus. These are having the cytoplasm and nucleus. The cells of the parenchyma are made up of a cellulose. Cells of the phloem parenchyma, it is made up of a cellulose, and these phloem parenchyma are helpful for store the food material and other substances. Store the food material and other substances like resin, latex and mucilage. Resin, latex and mucilage. So this is the function of phloem parenchyma. And now I told you CO2 elements and companion cells which both are associated with each other, and how they are joined with each other in the sense they are joined with each other with the help of pith. With the help of pith. Right? Next, I would like to move towards the last point, that is the phloem fibers. Phloem fibers are also the elongated pointed structures, and these are made up of a sclerenchymatous cells. These are made up of a sclerenchymatous cells. And you all know, when we are discussed in a simple tissue, there we are studied regarding the parenchyma, parenchyma and sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma cells, those are the dead, that is the dead simple tissue. Like here, the phloem fibers are made up of a sclerenchymatous tissue, and in maturity, when these are going to mature, that time these are going to lack, or these are absence of protoplasm. They are going to lose the protoplasm at the maturity, and they become the dead. The phloem fibers are dead. Dead in the sense they are not live. And the examples of phloem fibers are jute, flex and hum. These jute, flex and hum are used commercially for making roofs, ropes, making ropes and all. So this is about what the 4 types of components of a CO2 elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. These are the 4 components of a phloem of angiosperms, and we will discuss here the structure and function of these 4 components. 2 marks question bartete, write the components of a xylem. That time you are going to write tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Write the components of the phloem. That time you are going to write CO2 elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. So I hope this is clear for you people. And the important thing is, CO2 elements are lack of nucleus, in the sense here we are not going to find any nucleus. So the functions of CO2 is controlled by the nucleus of the companion cell. This is very important. And CO2 elements and companion cells are absent in a gymnosperms. Gymnosperm okay. Then jute, flex and hum, these are the examples of phloem fibers. And in between these 1, 2, 3, 4 component, dead component phloem fibers, because at the maturity it is going to lose its protoplasm and it become a dead. This is about what the components of the phloem. So in detail I told you. Once you go through the book, there they are given in detail the structures of these what components. In the sense, companion cells are the specialized parenchymatous cells which are loosely associated with the CO2 elements. CO2 elements are common longitudinal walls, and companion helps to maintain the guardians. I told you. Now next, in this phloem, primary phloem, it has a 2 kinds of phloem. In the sense, what? The first formed primary phloem consists of a narrow sieve. In the sense, protoploem and metaploem. The first formed or early formed primary phloem has a narrow sieve tubes. It is called as a protoploem. Protoploem, in the sense, it is formed early as a in a primary phloem, and it has narrow sieve tubes, and that is called as a protoploem. Metaploem, it is going to form later, and it has a bigger sieve cells. That is what we are going to call that one as a metaploem. Right? This is about what the complex permanent tissue. In earlier class, we will discuss regarding the complex permanent tissue. The first one is xylem, and in that we will discuss the components of the xylem: tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, xylem parenchyma, and afterwards we will discuss their protoxylem and metaxylem. And in today's class we will discuss regarding the phloem in an angiosperm, which is consists of CO2 element, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Okay, and when we are going to study in gymnosperm, the CO2 elements and companion cells are absent. Okay, this is about what the today's class, and you are going to remember the important point. The nucleus is absent in a CO2. Control the functions of a CO2 by the nucleus of a companion cells. Then the phloem parenchyma is made up of cellulose, and it is going to helpful for the storage of food material and other substances like resin, latex, and mucilage. Then phloem fiber, it is a dead tissue because at the mature, it is going to lose its protoplasm and become the dead, and it is made up of a sclerenchymatous tissue. The phloem fiber, it is made up of a sclerenchymatous tissue, and companion cells are the specialized parenchymatous cells. That is also very important. So this is the today's class regarding the complex or permanent tissues in that phloem. So in next class, what I am going to do, I am going to start with the tissue system. We'll see whether it is deducted from the syllabus or not, or else with the reference of the what in syllabus of the reduction we'll start with the next point. So still so far we have discussed regarding the anatomy of flowering plant. In that, the definition of tissue, meristematic tissue. Then in that we have studied the apical meristem, intercalary meristem, primary meristem, secondary or lateral meristem. Then we have discussed the mature cells. In that we have discussed the permanent tissues, two kinds of permanent tissues. One is simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. In simple permanent tissue we have discussed the parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and in complex permanent tissue we have discussed about the xylem and phloem. The component of the xylem, tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Components of the phloem, that is CO2 element. Then companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. And we have discussed regarding the structures of different kinds of these cells, how the arrangement of its cells, whether they, what we are going to call that one as the intracellular spaces present or absent, and the functions of each tissue like parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and here the different kinds of elements and all. So this is what regarding the permanent tissue, simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. I hope these concepts are clear for you, and I am going to stop here and I will continue in the next class with the next concept. Thank you all.